Now, speaking of retirement, let's think together. And most of the time when I'm trying to think, I'm trying to think out of the box, so to speak. But no, let's talk about the box. The box. The one into which you put your office memorabilia, a couple of trinkets, books, souvenirs. I've done it 4 times. I worked for 2 banks. I'm not gonna name names. As you know from Seinfeld, it's not really socially acceptable. But 2 banks and 3 independents. And in the process, I had to carry out a box with my personal belongings 4 times. Every time it's a very meaningful moment in your life. Something ended, something new is starting. There's excitement and anxiety and a bit of remorse about the things you could have done differently at the old place. But now I'm myself an inhabitant of that planet Networthy. I am myself a retirement practitioner. I am myself Dr. Y, asking questions, hunting for yield, and looking for answers. But the last time, before all of that happened, my retirement journey and life afterward began, only to discover that, work never stops and you always have to use your brains and skill set, and there's no such thing as retired intelligence. There can be tired intelligence, tired of being insulted and ignored, but retired intelligence, no. So when I retired but did not, what is it that I decided to rescue, to evacuate from my last office building that I ever set my foot in, right? And we'll talk more about office buildings and how come they're still building them, actually, and for what, including the banks, but that's another story. So let's talk about the shelves behind me. So when my shelf life as an investment advisor in my second bank came to an end, and I took my last box number 4, and I packed my stuff in it, it ended up on this shelves behind me. So what do we have here? And how is it relevant to your retirement journey, in which we, in our thinking, in our train of thought, will probably take you to desired destination, or at least it will help you map your financial field, so to speak. So what do we have? A couple of books. What Works on Wall Street was the first book that I read, from cover to cover. Basically is an encyclopedia and the Bible for anybody who wants to understand investing. And we'll talk about it more. One of the things that we got from there is number 50. O'Shaughnessy was right in a sense that he decided that the optimal amount of names to diversify a portfolio is 50, because 100% divided by 50 is 2%, and the loss of 2% of a portfolio is regrettable but not traumatizing. It doesn't really give you a blow hard enough. So basically 50 names is just right, Goldilocks of diversification. Not non-diversified, not over-diversified. And a lot of other interesting things. So right next to it, we have Phil Gordon's little blue book. Poker. Poker and investment psychology have a lot in common. I'm a student of the game. Poker is not just gambling, it's considered a game of skill. A lot of hedge fund managers play poker, so yes, I'm not saying play immediately, but normally if you are not a player, you are being played. Remember, it's not just correct for the game of poker, it's also correct for any strategic game, including tennis, investing, by the way, or as I call it, game of yields, and chess, for instance, right? Chess. Well, right next to chess, there's a reminder Time is a factor of every decision you make. We all plan to live forever, basically, but time is running out sometimes, and it's running out for our species. Could be, hopefully not, for the planet, and sometimes for investment decisions. For instance, most people start thinking about planning income from their registered retirement accounts at 71, when in fact they should do it at 65, and 6 years are lost, and that time will never be returned to you. And it's an investment unforced error. Nobody made you make an error, you just imposed it on yourself. So it's regretful. It's almost like a double fault. You had your chances and you made a rookie mistake. One of the things that we will tell you here is about the worst unforced errors, worst rookie mistakes. Next, well, we have a little receptacle for whiskeys. I don't drink too much, but when I do, remember the most interesting man in the world. He drinks Dos Equis. I drink single malts. We will talk about it. We will do a little bit of tasting. This little thing is called Writer's Tears. I'm also a writer. It kind of resonated. I hope that some things that I say will resonate with you. So we will do an occasional whiskey tasting and discussion of the complex and diversified taste that they managed to squeeze into one bottle. What else? Scott Schultz. Scott Schultz was the most ardent proponent of the strategy that I also am a big fan of, and which I do, which is closed-end fund arbitrage, but I just call it unpopular income. You can buy income streams that nobody else wants. With them come a lot of what is known as net asset value discount. It basically means assets for nothing. In the United States, there's a tool and an investment shop which is called Smart Assets, and they are extremely popular. But normally it's not smart assets, it's smart people, and smart people like to find assets that are undervalued, underappreciated, and misunderstood. And closed-end funds is an amazing vehicle for an income investor. Probably on total cost of ownership, not probably, for a fact, on total cost of ownership methodology, it's probably cheaper than ETFs. And we will talk about it a lot because I did it for 20 years. Here are 3 videos from my past as an investment advisor, which I'm no longer. The strategy though exists. There's people who can execute it for you, not me, but you should absolutely learn what is it that Scott Schultz and me were talking about for all of these decades. And the next book is one of the best Canadian investment managers that ever lived, unfortunately late, Peter Candil. And his book was appropriately There's Always Something to Do. So if you have something to do about your retirement and something bothers you and there's a pain point, ask your questions. We have a blog and we have this program on Friday which is called FUQs. I know it, but it's frequently unasked or unanswered questions, and you are most welcome to ask us anything, absolutely anything that comes to mind. We will try to address the subject, or if you need a specific investment advice, that will be not us, but you will easily find your path to a true investment advisor here. Now, what else? Animals. Bulls, bears, fish. The idea, let's start with the fish. In retirement, you can delegate, and that basically means somebody will be catching fish for you, or as they say, don't give them fish, teach them how to catch it, and they will always have the supply of food. The thing is, some people are fishermen and some are not. It's completely up to you whether you want to catch your own fish or not. Investors have to have choices, and we will be talking a lot about the difference between having an advisor, having true advisors, and people who are not so true to fiduciary standard, to holistic approach, and to investing the way it should be. That's a prominent subject. Canadian retirement industry didn't go through the metamorphosis and and evolution that happened south of the border, regretfully, but it's coming, and we will be talking about the science and art of truly independent advice and what it is. And finally, we will talk about animals. Not only are they telling you the stories, like the bull represents enthusiasm and maybe greed, and the bear represents pessimism and maybe what he really wants is peace of mind. But generally speaking, we will talk a lot about animals because us humans own to ourselves and to animals. Well, okay, let me put it this way. There's a bunch of questions I'm answering in another part of the website, of our portal, and basically who are the people that you dislike most? And to me, that's people who do animal cruelty. Humans generally will defend themselves, animals are not. And as my fox in the animation says, we are forever responsible for those we have domesticated. Anyway, we will talk a lot about different animals, and sometimes you will recognize humans. And finally, the last but not the least is the travel book. The travel book and the bucket list and the ability to expand your horizons and learn new things are something that shouldn't stop just simply because you retired. Retirement is an opportunity. Retirement is the time when you can improve yourself, when you can learn new things, when you can change your ways, when you can basically come to retire certain beliefs that are no longer true, no longer in your favor. And whenever I'm looking at older people, 85, 86, that's my mother, by the way, 90, these people keep learning. A lot of folks of far advanced age never stop improving themselves. And therefore, yes, you need investment yield to go and to pay for your retirement style, but lifestyle is also ability to keep things interesting and in perspective. And generally speaking, as long as you can do this, age is just a number. Thank you.